Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Benita Chaco. Welcome to the last day of the third edition of Digipub Week. Digipub Week is the online chapter of our Digipub World Convention, India's first event dedicated to online publishers, held annually since 2017. Before we move on, we'd like to thank our presenting partner MGID and associate partner and Beyond Media for their support. Can we please have the AV? Thank you. The discourse on contextual targeting has moved from do we need to do it to how do we do this right? How are publishers dealing with this new reality? That's what our panelists will be discussing in today's session, Digital Advertising, Contextually Speaking. On the panel, we have Dmitry Kazansky, Head of Product, MGID.
Hello, how are you doing?
Nupur Shah, AVP, Digital Lead for West and South, PhD India.
Hi everyone.
Rubina Singh, Country Manager, Josh Verse Innovations. She will be joining us soon. The session will be moderated by Susmita, Executive Editor at afaqs. Welcome, everyone. Before we begin, I would like to request the audience to please stay back after the session for an engaging interview with Bharat Gupta from Jagran New Media. Over to you, Susmita.
Thank you, Benita, and welcome everybody to the third edition of Digipub Week. So we started this 2 days ago, and we have discussed monetization for web publishers and brand safety. On both of these days, there was a good deal of conversation about contextual targeting. And today we discuss this topic, which I think the discussion is more imminent than ever today. What with us facing this whole cookieless future, Google is going to be dispensing with third-party cookies by mid-2023. Apple has already launched several privacy-focused features, which limit data collection and targeting. And the whole app tracking transparency framework has already kind of destabilized targeted advertising, at least in those markets where iOS devices are market leaders. So today we have with us digital marketing expert Nupur Shah from PhD India, who can give us a bird's eye view of contextual targeting as it stands in India. Dimitri, who can tell us about all the new tools available to marketers for contextual targeting. Rubina, who will join us in a while, has donned several hats over the years, from the publisher side of the business, then also the digital marketing side, and now she heads a short video content platform, Josh. So she can talk to us about the video commerce evolution that we are seeing today and how contextual targeting fits in there. So I would like to start with each of you. Nupur, Dimitri, and Rubina can take a few minutes to speak about what contextual targeting means to you today. Nupur, would you like to start?
Yes, to me, contextual targeting is, is the most basic form of targeting, that we can look at. It's basically, if I'm looking to target a person who is interested in cricket, And what I can do is, I can go to a website, or I can, go to an article, which is talking about cricket, and then show my ad for, say, for example, if I'm selling cricket shoes. That's the most basic form of targeting, because I know that the intent of the person on that website is going to be highly high for the products that I'm selling. So for me, contextual targeting becomes very important, because it's showing high intent. So yeah.
Got it. Dimitri, would you like to step in?
Yes, so I absolutely agree with Nupur. It's intent right now, and actually we've done quite a few usability studies, and they show that people, users, and we shouldn't forget about users, appreciate ads which are relevant to what they're doing now, whereas ads which are targeted to their past activity, sometimes they perceive as creepy, intrusive. So it's the most user-friendly and the most privacy-friendly targeting, because really it targets the page, and it's effective. That's leave it at this for now.
Sure. And Rubina?
Yeah, I think contextual advertising is undeniably a very strong method of getting the right message in front of the right consumer audience. But often, I'd like to layer in a little bit more. Besides what some of the other panelists said, I think it gets confused very much with behavioral targeting, which is slightly different, which is based on people's searches and online browsing behavior, I think today contextual advertising is becoming more and more relevant with what is happening in the digital ecosystem. And it's, the contextual advertising per se has evolved quite a bit today. And by leveraging machine learning, a contextual advertising tool and information can also be built, in such a way that it understands keywords, page types, media channels, to provide the most relevant and engaging communication without the use of cookies as well to people. I think, and also, another point is that these contextual factors will also include positive connotations, areas to the link where the advertising is on one side, and the other side is also where the negative connotations are there, and which ones you should avoid as a brand. And I think bringing all that together is, you can make sure the ad appears to the right side, to the right set of audiences with the highest level of brand safety.
Right. So I think that sets the tone for the conversation. And I would love it if our audiences also send us questions. We would love to take them if we have the time. And the point that Rubina made about, contextual targeting not being behavioral targeting, can you, Dimitri, maybe talk to us a little about, contextual targeting has been around, but what has changed? What is new? There is a sentiment analysis and all of that, which Rubina just also alluded to from, web pages. So if you can talk to us about that, how has it changed today?
Yes, so it's possibly one of the oldest or basic, as Nupur said, forms of targeting, and I've been around. Been doing ad tech for the last 22 years. And I remember it used to be about targeting pages. Then it became in early 2000s about keywords and keyword targeting, keyword filters. So if, there's so many times the keyword cars appears, then the ad is targeted to cars on the page. Of course, the brand safety was also another side of contextual targeting, which would be a negative targeting, and we used to do it through filters. So I remember, in early 2000s, Delta Airlines was our advertiser, and whenever there was an airplane crash, we would get this very stern, warning through email. Under no circumstance our ads should appear on the pages that talk about this catastrophe. So we would type in keywords, catastrophe, crash, disaster, and negatively filter. Of course, with that, in the simplistic, Boolean filtering, you get lots of false positives. Stock market crash also get filtered, or someone had a story about someone having a crush on their high school English teacher, also getting filtered, nothing to do with airlines. So of course, since then, with the advent of AI and machine learning, there was massive improvement, as Rubina alluded to, and it's something we did really well at MGID. And we analyzed not just keywords, but actually concepts. So we know the difference now between Apple the fruit and Apple the company and Apple the stock. And we know how certain words or concepts are related. A couch and a sofa is very close, and forest in the woods is very close. And that makes the brand safety better, targeting a lot more intelligent, like vastly. Like there's a giant leap that happened due to AI.
Got it. And these kind of, nuanced understanding that the algorithm itself needs to make based on what it's seeing on these websites also might be leading to the media buyers and media planners having a very critical role to play. So Nupur, can you step in and tell us what things are looking like? Are you already experimenting with things right now?
Yes, so with the entire advent of the cookie-less world and everything, we've kind of, the entire digital ecosystem has basically traveled an entire circle and gone back to contextual targeting, right? But what has happened positively is that in the time frame that we had, since the last 10-15 years, when when internet started with contextual targeting and what contextual targeting we're going back to, there's a lot of improvement, like both Dimitri and Rubina mentioned, that there are a lot of improvements that have happened in terms of negative filtering, etc., etc. So it is more so all systems are more empowered to filter out what we don't want to show and are more attuned to showing what we really want to show. So I believe even as digital planners, digital buyers, when we're advising our clients on what kind of media to buy, we also have we also feel very empowered to select and to be sure that if, say, for example, we're selecting a particular bunch of websites that we know that our content is going to be presented, our brand is going to be presented in the most brand safe environment. So I would say that we've come back a full entire circle, and we've come back more empowered than what we had started off with.
And with this empowerment, is it also about going broad with regard to targeting? What are platforms telling you?
So there are two schools of thought, Sushmita, that are there. One is basically to go broad, which will give inefficiencies, which will give us more scale. Then there is, an entire school of thought that says that, narrow is better because, you're hitting with intent, you're hitting with contextuality, and so on and so forth. So what we believe and what we do at PhD is that, we try to make a mix of both. Through the funnel, we kind of keep evaluating between if in the upper funnel we might want to go a little bit broad because we want to have more people coming in into the funnel, and then as we go down we can start narrowing, start filtering out things. So that's the approach that we're taking, because no one approach is right. It is the context in which both of them are used is what makes the difference.
Got it. And I also want to understand, and maybe Rubina, you can step in with your, background also in the web publishing business, and also at iProspect with digital marketing. Is publishers now, do they have the upper hand if they have all of the first party data on who's visiting, what their profiles are? And do Indian publishers seem to be in a position where they can have this upper hand? Are there any gaps? What is your experience?
No, absolutely. Yes. I agree that, while there is a cookie-less world and there's privacy on Apple that has been implemented, etc. But, what has not stopped is collecting one's own first-party data. So it's not that all is lost about using data to target ads and, on platforms. So everybody does it, right? And publishers do it very, very well. So what they're, I would say, like, for instance, a retail company can just go and advertise on today any of the marketplaces, Amazon, for example, and they have all the data. Amazon has all the data about all the customers because people have already logged in, right? That hasn't been impacted at all by anything which is whether it's a cookieless world or the app tracking transparency, right? It's what has the same with Google, for instance, right? With publishers. So what is in a way what has happened is that these walled gardens have just become even more stronger because of that. So, I would say that I think what everybody has to do is focus a lot more. And, a lot of brands have also been doing that. They have been, getting the first party data ready and collecting it. And now they are beginning to reuse it. But I think more than that, what has happened is today, what it's called the zero party data, which is basically telling the user to give in their details in exchange for a more personalized service or something that, you're able to give them a better experience. And most users, are actually happily, they trust brands and give that data out when asked for it. So that definitely is an opportunity that all brands also have to get zero party data in exchange for a value exchange for the customer, really. And I think from an Indian publisher point of view, to your point, I would say that native advertising has been there for a long time. And basically all that we're saying is it has worked in the past, basically doing things natively on a platform to be integrated in the content, right? And being contextual. I think that is going to come back again. And that is what we're seeing on Josh as well. So what we are encouraging brands to do on Josh, instead of putting video ads of their content, we're saying use the influencer ecosystem to be able to create content in a way which is palatable to the user, in which they're enjoying watching that content and consuming that content. So why don't you become part of that story in the native manner? And that is really working, for brands. So yeah, I would say all is not lost, and it's not just contextual advertising. I think it's about getting your own data, using data which is available with large publishers, and using native as a strong way to kind of reach out to the customers in a more effective and targeted manner.
Got it. And Nupur, can you give us a sense of like Rubina was saying, all is not lost. So with contextual targeting, what are other things that brands are now looking at, to supplement their whole digital advertising plans with this cookieless future coming in? What are other tools as well?
So first party data has become extremely important, because, everyone is worried about, there was a point in time when everyone thought that this was the end of it and, all of that. But now what is also happening is that a lot of education is happening. People are also, marketers are educated in terms of, what is it and how are we supposed to ask for data. Also, what a lot of brands have started doing is, have started having a value exchange of sorts. So, by ways of rewarding customers or saying that, you take part in contests, you take part in, some freebies, etc., etc. So there is a value value exchange that's established between an advertiser and a customer, and then there is data sharing happening, which is strengthening the entire first party data also that the client wants. So again, it is not something that is here and now. It is a solution, or it is a it's a concept. It's a project that is going to traverse a couple of years, until we absolutely get it right. So what we are at currently is just the tip of the iceberg. We have a long way to go in terms of to getting that most absolutely correct data about a certain person or a certain way, which is why even when we are advising on how media budgets should be spread, we are recommending to to spread it across multiple channels, so we know that we are going to be hitting the right people in the right context in the right way. So that's what is happening in the media agencies.
Got it. And maybe Dimitri, if you can step in here and talk to us a little bit about what you were speaking earlier, about sentiment targeting, understanding what kind of content is on a page, but that is a lot to do with textual content. So can the same be applied to video? What are the tools available?
Yes, absolutely. So video and images is another frontier for contextual. And of course, for text, there is NLP, natural language processing. And for images and video, there's computer vision, which is, I would say, equally, if not even better, developed with the advent of neural networks, convolutional neural networks. And it is robust. Of course, it requires a lot of training data. As I don't know, watched that Silicon Valley episode where they trained the tool to recognize a hot dog or not a hot dog, but the good classifier, but just needs training on other categories. So it is something that we do. Of course, our text classifier is very, very robust, already exists in 9 languages, working on Hindi right now, Bengali coming next. Very quickly it will happen, but in the images, yes, we can recognize faces, lots of our features, and it includes also things that would be inappropriate or not brand safe, and filter those out.
So as that, as the technology for that is built, in the meantime, in the whole image and video space, video in particular, which is a large chunk of consumption online, what are the solutions that are there?
Well, it's video classifiers, or image classifiers, and essentially, as I started speaking, it's and they're based on neural networks, especially convolutional neural networks as the ones which have been the most successful in recognizing the images and matching them to topics and concepts. And there's a couple of ways of doing it. One, you can essentially transcribe video to text and then apply the same targeting as if it were text. Or you just classify images, classify videos, or break down videos into several still images, and kind of still images stored in sequence. That's what it is, 30 frames per second. And it's a robust, there's lots of robust technologies and tools out there. Of course, they're computationally very intensive and not cheap in that sense.
Understood. And whoever would like to take this question, ID replacements, is this something that we are seeing a lot in the India market, or how long are we going to take for this to become extremely popular here? It's I guess already taking place in Europe and markets of that sort? Nupur, would you like to take that?
Sushmita, what is happening is that currently every every big publisher is now coming up with their own version of ID. And as agencies, as brands, what is also happening is that it's still a fragmented market in terms of how do you really enrich the data that is coming out of it. So what will be the need of the hour is that in a couple of years, when all of this kind of gets aggregated, and then there is just one ID that is coming out, either and that will have to be most likely, it seems to be, it's a solution that will be coming out of a walled garden, where they say that because that's where most of the users sit, right? Be it a Google, or be it a Facebook, or be it an Amazon. When they say that now we have sufficient data, and if, say for example, tomorrow there is Google's data clean rooms, they say that we'll create this particular universal ID that's coming out. So I think it'll have to be of that scale. Otherwise, what will happen is that every other person will have about 200, 300 million IDs, but not really representative of the entire country. So that's what we think it's going to be.
So as you prepare for this cookieless future, are you already running, little experiments? Are there any sort of examples that you have to, compare contextual targeting versus your usual, cookie targeting that you do? And what does that say?
So quite honestly, there are some experiments that are underway. The campaigns are live currently. We're expecting the results to come out, in the next couple of weeks. But when we were in conversation with the partner that we're running it with, they have run these campaigns, globally, and they've seen that the lifts or the metrics, media metrics, when we look at it, are pretty comparable to the ones. So basically, cookie less and with cookie are pretty comparable. There's nothing much getting lost in translation, even with just contextual targeting. Intelligent contextual targeting is how I would put it. It's still a robust, it's a good enough robust method to continue advertising and continue identifying people who we want to talk to.
We have a lot of questions flowing in from the audience. So here we have one from Shubho Sengupta, who asks, has the role of content in the marketing funnel changed in the last 2 years?
Content, if I'm taking the question, content has actually changed from, just being there as an awareness driving medium, how it started, a couple of years back when, people would do webisodes or web series and, have brand integration. It used to be pretty much top of the funnel. Now it's also starting to get very, it's starting to traverse the entire funnel and saying that, if you're in market, or this is how you can actually go and buy it, or this is how you install it, or there are these two brands, this is the benefit of this, that is the benefit of. So the role of content has definitely changed. Just like any other platform or any other media, it has also evolved into being what what it is right now.
If I can just add to that,
yes.
I think I completely agree. To Nupur, what she said, the role of content has changed, and you really look at what is happening today. It's not just like one piece of communication on digital, which is getting amplified everywhere. First of all, it's becoming very, very contextual, personalized content being created for different cohorts of people, even if it's within one platform. That is being done. Second thing is, what is content is also being used today is not just for awareness, but for driving commerce as well. So I think that is another interesting leg which is coming up, especially with the creator economy coming up so strongly. We see creators today, content creators come up today who are creating content, and not just to entertain people, but also to be able to help brands sell their products and services. That's a model which has become very, very large in the East and now is traveling west as well.
Thank you so much. There's another from Anirban Roy Chaudhary who asks, as the number of touch points increase with the increase of digital interactions, how big of an effort is it to make sense of the TBs of data, to get them on the same dashboard for the CMO to use the data in real time with actionable insights? So basically processing all of that data that's coming in real time.
My response to it would be, to keep it simple. The answer always lies in simplicity, in the most basic thing. What is it that the CMO is looking for? Go in with a hypothesis. Big data will always have, it will say multiple things, but if you know what is the question you're asking, you will definitely get an answer back, that's answering the question. Otherwise, if you don't have a hypothesis, there's too much data, there is too much noise without any actionable insight coming out.
Got it. And someone else asks, do you think contextual targeting will completely substitute third-party cookies? I think we discussed this, but if Dimitri, you would like to take this?
Yes. So I would say contextual targeting becomes behavioral, as Rubina mentioned it earlier. So what is behavioral is something that I've done before. So I search for flights from Los Angeles to Mumbai, and as I'm doing it, it's contextual. If an airline wants to advertise the flights to me, but as I left the page and I'm doing something else, now it becomes behavioral. And of course, that depends on the ability to identify and target me as a person, or at least as a cohort. And here lies, a bit of a problem with the third-party cookies and device IDs going away. So of course, as Nupur and Rubina said, there's the new, I guess, division between the rich and the poor in the ecosystem is who has the login, who can identify the user. Because if you do, if as a publisher, for example, if your users log in, then tons of data about who they are, what they did, etc., becomes available for targeting. But it's not easy. There are certain sites, let's say social media sites, you have to be logged in. There's no way to use it without being logged in. But to check the the weather in Los Angeles, I will never log in on weather.com, even if they pay me or threaten me, because why? There's tons of other sites that show me the weather information. So it is a difficult task to authenticate the user. But contextual is here to say it's better, and that's the tool for the rest of us, I guess. So for the publishers who cannot figure out how to authenticate the user and thus collect user-based behavioral data, contextual still remains.
So basically, I mean, the main thing here is to do this accurately and quickly. Is that right?
That is right. That is right, and it's something the entire industry struggle with. Participate in IAB task force on third-party cookies and replacement for them. Not easy. There is, deterministic approaches with essentially logins, authentications. There are probabilistic methods. So attempting to sort of zero in on who the user is by IP, user agent, browser, etc. It's not absolutely precise. Some say, depending on the source, 80 to 90% precise. So you get a lot of false positives. So your spouse see things that you've been browsing, the ads related to that. Hopefully, okay, most of the time. But and again, there's a threat of IP becoming more and more restrictive. So it's a tough problem. Everyone is searching, no one has the exact answer. There are some interesting works in the area.
And Rubina, would you say that is where video content comes in, and the whole influencer marketing bit, and content by creators themselves plays in as well?
So yeah, I mean, like Dimitri said, content platforms such as ours, we're a social platform. So we have that advantage to use our platform, people have to log in, right? And people consume that content by logging in. And it's not very hard for us to, or platforms like us to get people to log in, right? And there, once they've logged in, you have sort of deterministic data on a lot of the stuff that they're doing within the platform, maybe not outside, but within, have a lot of insight on what they're doing. And therefore, you can target them and you can do things very well for them. But I think, on another note, what is also happening is, like my daughter always tells me, Mom, how can you be in the business of advertising? Like whenever I open, YouTube, I just want to skip the ad. Nobody wants to watch ads, right? So that's the truth. That's the new generation which is coming up. Nobody really likes ads. They don't want to watch it. So I think it's also becoming important for brands to think of, like what I said earlier, how do you become part of the story? How do you tell your story in a way which is engaging, which is native to the platform? Because if you don't, chances are people will, and look at it, what happened from long form. And I'm talking like, from earlier days when ads even happened on television, right? They were like 60 seconds long. They came down to 10 seconds. Same happened on digital. There were long form ads. Today, like short form has become very popular because the attention span is really going down. So I think what brands have to look at, and the third thing is that people are expecting personalized experiences, even in the content that is being served to them from brands. So I think, short video platforms obviously are becoming very popular. Being part of the content in a native manner and personalizing your content to the person's preference, I think is the way forward. And that is why video platforms such as ours, or the global ones, the short video global platforms which are there today are really doing well because of these 2-3 things coming together. So that's what I would say.
Got it. And Nupur, would you like to sum up your thoughts? We have about 3 minutes left, and I think Rubina has summed up hers. We'll go to Nupur to kind of, you can take a minute and sum up your thoughts.
Yeah, so pretty much what both Dimitri and Rubina said, that there is no one perfect solution or one perfect method to reach out to the audiences. It most often than not is a combination of multiple things, because even on video there is contextual, on contextual there is video, and then there is social all around it. So it's very difficult to isolate it. So the magic happens when all of these different moving parts are basically working together with one single objective in mind to drive a particular thing. So that's when to us that's when magic happens. And that's the magic that we strive to achieve and to give back to our clients.
And Dimitri, I guess it's companies like you and people like you who are making all this magic happen as well.
Yes, but of course we couldn't be there without the smart publishers and media buyers. But yeah, we try. We invest a lot, especially in the areas of AI and machine learning, apply it rapidly. And yeah, and of course, India being one of our most important markets will get a priority in the technology that we develop.
You are already developing Hindi and Bengali, so we are looking forward to more solutions for the India market from you.
Yes, absolutely.
So I think we've had a great discussion. Today I have learned a lot myself, and I do hope that our audiences had a lot to take away. Thank you so much for your time, Nupur, Dimitri, Rubina. And if there are any other questions from our audiences, would you be okay if they could just drop in something on LinkedIn and you could respond to them? That will be great.
Definitely. Yeah.
Definitely works.
Love to.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. I really enjoyed the conversation. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Lovely conversation. Thank you.
Thank you, esteemed panelists and moderator, for such an insightful session.